What do you got for me?
What's wrong with you people?
I got nothing for you.
What's wrong?
You're not haters. How y'all feel this morning? I feel what? That's how I feel. Well, that was enough for me. We could have had the benediction right there. That was so good.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to The Reformatory, the podcast for the local church and by the local church. And we are your local churchmen. My name is Josh, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Jack Berry. Jack, my friend,
Yes.
How's it going?
It's going okay. So I was talking to Josh about this earlier, but I feel like it's audible season. Something's going on.
Yes,
The Gremlins are coming.
it's true.
Flannel wearing is back.
Han Solo season.
You can see
Right.
your breath in the morning
You can.
because it's that chill.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
For some reason, our recording device is not working.
Yeah,
right
so
now. It's so
seriously, I don't
stupid.
know what's going on. So our service is like conked out on me, man. So basically what we're going to have to do is this episode probably won't have video, sadly. So we won't be doing video with this one, just audio. But you know, that's the way it goes with these with technology, you know? I mean, it works until it doesn't. And then it doesn't give you any explanation as to why it's not working. So that's what we're dealing with right now. But Jack, we're gonna persevere.
Oh yeah,
We're gonna move on because we're professional. It's what we do. All right. This is what we do. This is how we roll. In the podcast world. Jack, before we hop into stuff, man, we have a shout out.
Ooh,
We have a shout out
Hey.
to fulfill. All right. We had a person of excellence.
A name that shall be made hallowed.
Absolutely.
today.
Yep.
Yes.
They took the plunge. They pledged the $5 holla, and they got their exclusive ticket to the members only All Access Podluck. And this is an Anon account. All right. So it's not a name.
Okay.
Right. It's more of a collection of ideas, of more of a collection of I don't know where I'm going with this, but the shout out goes to Reformed Reflections. Reformed
Interesting.
Reflections. That's right. I reached out via private message and thanked Reformed Reflections, and they said, "Hey, appreciate the shout out. Just not one to have my personal info out on the
The interwebs.
on the interwebs," which I completely understand.
Yeah.
And applaud. In all honesty, I applaud that. So, Reformed Reflections, whoever you are, whether you be male or female, because those are the only two options.
Whether barbarian or Scythian.
Or
if you
Scythian,
will.
Jew or Greek, rich or poor,
Oh, yeah.
we thank you. We thank you for your $5 holla. We really appreciate the support for the Reformatory. We appreciate you as an individual. We appreciate your reflections, reformed as they are. So, Jack, my friend, their name has been hallowed.
It has been hallowed, sir.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. We thank them for their patronage. And friends, listeners, people, lend me your ears. You too could become a Patreon supporter of the Reformatory and get all of the rights thereunto. Exclusive content, amazing bonus episodes, right? Fun stuff. We've been doing a lot of top threes recently in the Patreon. A lot of what are your top threes, and they've been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we might have to talk about a little bit of sports talk and Soka next.
Yeah, I think
when I come up there.
I think that's gonna have to happen.
There's a lot of nerdiness happening on Ahsoka right
There
now.
is.
that
Oh,
Josh
100%.
and I need to unpack here, people.
Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, if you are into cigar talk, tobacco talk, sports talk, pop culture talk, nerd talk, food talk,
Oh yeah.
man, the Podluck is the place for you. You're missing out. head on over to patreon.com/reformatorypod and sign up and get your name hallowed through the halls.
Yes, sir.
That's what we do. So, Jack,
Yes.
before we hop into our topic today, why don't you please give us the reformatory cigar of the week? Because as we know, we're not in August anymore. September
Nope, not in August.
is for Sinistro.
Yeah.
Sinistro. That's right.
So, yes. So as Josh so eloquently said, September is for Sinistro. Josh loves Sinistro.
I do.
I think
Yeah.
I think Josh loves Sinistro more than Sinistro loves itself.
That's probably true.
Possibly. But I will say, so we've been talking about different cigars. So we had the, trying to even remember the name of that one. The Desfloredo.
The Mr. Desfloredo, the Connecticut.
Mr. Desfloredo.
Yeah,
Yes.
very
Mr.
good.
Desfloredo. Okay. This one, I'm going to talk about it in twofold.
Okay.
Because there is a classic version of this, and then there's also just a little bit of adjustment that I like as well too. So it is called the Mr. Red by Sinistro,
Yep.
and the adjustment is called the Mr. Red Candela.
That's right.
So you have the Mr. Red. The Mr. Red by Sinistro comes in different sizes as well. So it comes in Robusto, Toro, Bellicoso, Presidente, and the Scala LE. It is a medium to full strength cigar.
Yep.
The wrapper is San Andreas Mexicana. The binder is Ecuadorian, and the filler is Dominican, USA, and Nicaraguan. So you have all those, and I'll say this, from Sinistro's own website, a true oily San Andreas wrapper with an abundance of flavor. As you begin the smoke, an overwhelmingly pleasant aroma of roasted coffee bean and chocolate begins to fill the air. First puffs will swiftly pervade your palate, introducing robust flavors of roasted coffee and toasted nuts, which open up to a creamy and flavorful taste with a hint of white spice as you continue these savory, subtle notes blend together to create a perfectly balanced, full-bodied cigar. So that is Mr. Red. And Mr. Red Candela is basically the same thing, but with a Candela wrapper on it. So think of all of what I just told you with a little bit of, how should I say this? A little hay, little grassiness maybe.
Yep.
Just a little. It's kind of like, I equate it to kind of like mint chocolate. Somewhat kind of flavor like that.
Yeah.
And so basically it's the same thing. So the Mr. Red Candela is Dominican Candela over Mexican San Andreas wrapper. Ecuadorian Sumatran as far as binder, and fillers Nicaraguan. The Mr. Red Candela is usually in Robusto sizing, and that thing is MSRP'd at around $8 to $9. We can say that the other Vitola sizings of Mr. Red are anywhere from 8 to 11-ish, somewhere around there, depending upon which sizing you have. But this has been like a staple.
Oh,
I feel,
100%.
for Josh and I.
Yeah.
When we don't know what we want to smoke, like we'll go get just like a Sinistro Mr. Red or a Mr. Red Candela or something like that, and then just have at it.
Yeah.
So,
The Sinistro line of cigars was kind of the first line that I got into after when I was done like smoking infused stuff. So I I didn't want to smoke the acids anymore, right? So the Mr. White was kind of the first one, and then Mr. Red was kind of the first Maduro that I had. And just love it. Nothing but love for Sinistro, man. Sinistro. September is for Sinistro. That's what we're going to be doing all month long, is just giving you the best sticks that, in our opinion, that Sinistro has to offer. So the Sinistro Mr. Red, that is the reformatory cigar of the week. And my friends, as always, you know what to do. Go and smoke, as Spurgeon said, to the glory of God. All right, Jack. So today, my friend, Jack, let me ask you. All right. I'm gonna ask you a question. All right. I want to know if you're with me in this. Do you ever find that you have multiple things warring in your life, right? And it makes you frustrated. It makes you kind of angsty. in that on one hand, as we say often in this podcast, all right, you want to make the local church central to your life. You want to be involved in church. You want to be around the people. When the doors are open, you want to be there because you love it. You genuinely love it, and you want your life to center around it more, right? That's on one hand. But then on the other hand, life is just massively busy. And you go through those weeks or those months where you barely have time to get the required sleep that you need at night before you're up and you're at 'em again.
Yeah.
Right? If I had to guess, my friend, if I had to go out on a limb, I would say that perhaps you are finding yourself in one of those stages right now, being a father of a newborn, right?
Yeah.
And then for me, I'll say the same. I'm not taking care of a new kid, but I'm in a season of that right now.
Yeah.
Where the last 2.5 months has just been packed. And it just seems like every day there's something going on. Every weekend is full, and I can barely, keep straight in my head what's going on that week, much less have time
Yeah.
to do things with my brothers and sisters in church that I want to do, right? Like I want free time that I can use to spend with them. I want free energy to be able to use to create, fun events to do with people and ways to fellowship. And dude, I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
I get it.
Life's crazy. And sometimes that's the way it is. Right? And I'm sure, there's some listeners that are nodding their head right now, and they're either like in that season also, or they understand how that is, right? Mm-hmm. Jack, I'm assuming I'm not alone in that.
No, you're not. But I mean, it's a lot of people right now. I think to one extent, you have. It felt like summer was like minuscule this year. For some reason. Maybe it's because most of that time was basically me anticipating my son coming into this world.
Yeah.
And then me basically on the back end, like taking care of him and doing that stuff. But then there's a lot of other things that happen as well too. But I kind of find myself, that first month after my son Theo was born, I kind of felt like that a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like all you have is wake up, take care of your kid, try and sleep the best you. We're definitely hitting on a better sleeping note.
Yeah.
I feel like my son is starting to sleep longer throughout the night.
There you go.
But yeah, like right around now, he's cranky and he cries and he fights sleeping and stuff like that. And then it's like, oh man, and I got to wake up to go to work tomorrow. And then what sometimes you don't think about too is like, oh man, because like even for me, I have a Wednesday morning Bible study at 6 a.m. that I go to. So and honestly, the times that I've gone there, it is so refreshing, and you get to nerd out with other men in there that like love biblical theology. Yeah, like we've been going lately through. We are leading up to study the book of Revelation. Yeah. And what one of our leaders, who's actually in my community group, the guy who kind of facilitates, I would say. It's a little better statement. But how he does it is basically he's trying to take bits and pieces of stuff, like biblical theology stuff that you can find in Revelation all over the Bible, and then we'll try and unpack it.
Oh, that's
cool. Before we get there. So right now we've gone through Jesus as prophet. Yep. In kind of the ending chapters of Matthew, kind of looking at what Jesus is saying to the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the Sanhedrin, kind of in his last week of living, but in very prophetic ways. And kind of talking through those. And so that like really fills my cup. Yeah. Honestly, it does. And when I don't have like that, or maybe like something else, like another maybe meeting throughout the week with like maybe like a pastor or maybe like a friend like Josh where I can talk to him. Maybe it's not just recording, but just hanging out with him in person, which was actually refreshing too.
Yeah.
To have that last week. Yeah, it's really tough because you have other stuff going on and you are trying to live out of making the church central to your life.
Right.
But it is very difficult sometimes when life just gets to that certain point of stacking up.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think what often happens, especially if you have a personality like me, is you can end up falling in two sides of kind of the ravine, right? You can fall into just a really just deep frustration and despair because you're not around the people that you love, right? And you want to be doing stuff, but you know that you don't have time, so you just kind of sit in it, right? And I find myself doing that. I find myself just being super frustrated and angsty and just like I hate that life is this busy and I'm just kind of just frustrated all the time, right? Yeah. Or you can go on the other side and try to force, basically force the square peg of life into the circle hole and do your absolute darndest to not change anything, and you're going to end up burning yourself out. You might get sick, like physically, because you're run down, right? Yeah. And then we all know the consequences of what happens from that, right? So I think there's a danger when we do find ourselves super busy in life to kind of fall into some of those, and that you just go completely hands off and say, okay, I'm not gonna do anything with the church whatsoever because life is just crazy, or you end up not, I would say, prioritizing things correctly, and you end up burning yourself out, and you end up getting sick or getting it'll affect your family, it'll affect your work life, right? And that's not good either. Right, because then it renders you not effective yet, in church anyway. So the same consequence ends up happening, So
yeah, I think just the same thing happens too with my wife. So like she's primarily taking care of my son.
Yeah.
And like she felt it last week where it was just like I'm just with him like 24/7.
Sure.
And sometimes that's a burden, and I get that.
Sure, yeah, it's not easy.
You're with a baby that is super needy.
Yep.
But what was kind of comforting too is like there's a Bible study that I think is put on by some women within our church, in which she has the opportunity to go to that during the day with moms who are watching their kids as well too.
Yeah.
And they get to walk through the Word. And so that's kind of refreshing. She's trying to get into kind of more deeper theology as well too. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking about what that looks like. What are some good resources, some books to look at? And so she's asking some of her friends that have had some of the resources to see if it's good or if, save money. But yeah, it's not just for men who are providing, but it's also for women as well too, who may be, you may not be in a season where you're married or you have kids, but you're still on your grind because inflation, y'all.
Yeah, sure.
Inflation.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and those are real things.
Yeah.
Like we find ourselves feeling the pinch and feeling the pressure of, having to do things like that because life is different than it was 20 years ago. The economy is. There's so many different factors that play into this, right? But something I want to do is I want to try to encourage our listeners to, when you find yourself in this scenario, which you do occasionally, you do often, depending on where the stage of life that you're in, right? I really want to encourage you to allow yourself some balance and realize something, right? That God in his sovereignty has placed you in this stage of life with a purpose. Now, you might not know what that purpose is. You may not see what that purpose is until you get on the other side of it, right? But the local church is there to come alongside you. It's there to help you. It's there to comfort you and encourage you. And yes, of course, as we've said many times, it doesn't negate the fact that we are called to give our lives to the local church, right? And to, support the local church with our time, our treasures, and our talents. Mm-hmm. But also, as we've said before, those look different depending on the stage of life that you're in and where God has you.
Yeah.
And we need to be very careful to not take the very joyful aspects of being part of a local church and ruin them with legalism, in that now, like, you find yourself in a stage that you're not, a stage of life where you're not able to commit or do as much in the church as you used to.
Yeah.
It's very easy to feel guilt in those times, right? And to kind of view your worth to the church as being equal to the amount that you're able to put into it, right? And that's just not true. That's not true. We all go through stages in life where we're able to give more of our time, more of our talent, and more of our treasure to the local church.
Yeah.
And sometimes the Lord brings us into times of life where those back off a little bit because of the responsibilities that he has laid before us and the things that pop up in life that we need to take care of, right? And it's in those times that I try to encourage, those individuals to look. Perhaps in this season of life, your service to the local church is simply to be present when you can.
Yeah.
Right? There are so many times in our lives, for many different reasons, whether it's busyness or like Jack and I have experienced, maybe it's hurt, right? Maybe you're in church and you just got out of a really bad experience, or whatever the situation is, and it's painful. Yeah. Often, the best service that you can give to the church is simply by being there, right? So I would encourage that individual as much as you can, right? And I understand things pop up, but as much as you can, prioritize the gathering of the saints on the Lord's Day.
Yeah.
That's priority one. That is where your full focus and attention should go. Okay? Prioritize that first. And if you have time to do stuff after that, cool, awesome. That's fantastic, right? But prioritize the gathering of the Lord's Day, because in that you're going to receive that one reminder of the gospel, right? You're going to receive the sacraments, and you're going to be around those people that bring that encouragement, bring that grounding, and bring that reminder that, look, you might not be able to be here as much as you as much as you were last year, right? Because of the stage of life that you're in, but we still love you. You're still part of this family. We still care for you. We still want to be part of your life. How can we help? And that's what a good local church does. When a local church has their community figured out, that's what we do. We rally around one another when we're going through a super busy or stressful time in life, right? So be encouraged. Like, I know it's not fun, and I know the stage of life that you're in right now might, if it's like the one I'm going through, it can be frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's not that, there's anything maybe particularly bad going on. It's just, there's a lot. And you're just like, man, I'm looking at the calendar. It's like, when is this going to clear up? You know what I'm saying? Be encouraged. Be encouraged. The church is still there. The church still loves you. You're still part of the church. The way that your heavenly Father looks at you has not changed because your schedule has changed. But be faithful with what you can be faithful in. And sometimes, Jack, that's just showing up on Sunday morning.
Yeah, and sometimes too, it's being maybe somebody who recognizes you see a couple that's going through a lot in a certain season.
Yep.
I know a couple different couples in our church right now that just, it's really tough. It's like, and they're really honest with it too. They're like, hey, we can be here on Sunday, but man, we're going to be spotty if we try and come to community group or anything like that because we're just super busy with life right now. Mm-hmm. And granted too, like jobs and then school that this couple is going through as well too. But sometimes it's just trying to find ways outside the box that may serve that person.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a text or a phone call.
Yep.
Or bringing them a meal or something like that to like serve them, to like love them, to know that like, hey, like we care for you. We're praying for you.
Yeah.
We know that this is a tough season, but you're not alone in this.
Right.
So trying to find practical ways where if you're not going through that, trying to find ways to serve your brothers and sisters in ways and just love them in practical ways. Mm-hmm. Versus just like not addressing it or
Right.
Not doing anything about it or something along those lines. But
Yeah.
I think from a community dynamic, that helps out a lot. Knowing that people in your community group rally around you, even though you may not be able to come to community group because you're in this certain season that's busy. So.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and dude, like that kind of brings up the last thing that I would say is that when you find yourself in this time, it's all the more important that you are reaching out to people. Because look, sending a text, it takes 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
When you find yourself in this time where you're not able to physically be with your people and you have that longing, right? And maybe you start feeling frustrated because you want to be with people and you don't have the time. It's all the more important that you are reaching out and that you are communicating to your brothers and your sisters like, hey, I'm struggling right now. Like, I really want to be with you guys, and life's just really busy. I need some prayer. I need some encouragement. And, man, let the church be the church, right? Mm-hmm. Let the church come alongside you and give you that encouragement to get you through to the next season of life, which, Lord willing, will be a little slower, a little bit more open, to where you're able to be invested, more in the ways that you want to be. But it's vital. It's vital to not self-isolate, right? You don't want to isolate in these times, and it's so easy to do. Believe me, I'm coming from experience, right? It's so easy to just be like, well, I'm not there anyway. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be a trouble, right? And we make all these excuses in our heads, and often we couch them in not wanting to be an inconvenience, or couching them in what we try to convince ourselves is some sort of humility. And it's really just you wanting to self-isolate, and it's not good for you. No. It's not. Don't do it, right? And if that's you right now, man, just reach out.
Yeah.
Send the text, make the phone call, ask for help, right? It's what the church does. Look, you would want people, like if you had a close friend, you would want them doing that with you, right?
Yep.
So be that person. Reach out, ask for prayer, ask for help, right? And let the church come alongside you and help you through the season of life that you're in. Because, man, like, you might not be able to be there as much as you want to, but it literally any amount of interaction that you can have is better than nothing. And if you can have Sunday morning and then some encouraging texts, exchanges throughout the week, the Lord will use that. He will use that to sustain you, right? And sometimes, that's what we have to go off of,
Yep, absolutely.
So
I think Big Eva has some.
I think she has, man. I think it's time. I think it's time to wrap this up. Hopefully that was encouraging to folks, and hopefully if you find yourself in that season, folks, man, be encouraged. Be encouraged. I know it's frustrating, but hang in there. Mm-hmm. Hang in there. The Lord's working. The church is still there. The church loves you. You're still part of the church, even though you're not, maybe serving as much as you want to be. So hang on. Times are a-changing. It's going to happen. All right. I see the moon rising. Jack, my friend, why don't you get us out of here on this on this videoless episode.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you appreciate Josh and I's attempts to make the local church central to the believer's life, you can follow us on the Sociables and continue the conversation there. Mm-hmm. You can follow us on the Facebook, the Metaverse, if you will, the Instagram, it goes well with Chocolate Marshmallow, or the Sociable, formerly known as Twitter.
That's right.
X. You can follow us all at the tag at Reformatory Pod. Send us a message if you have episode ideas you want us to talk about. If you have questions of Josh or myself in something that you are inquiring of us about, anything, go ahead, hit us up on the Sociables. Josh, you can tell the lovely people how they might support us in other endeavors as well too. So.
That's right. Listen up, all you lovely people. There are multiple ways that you can support the Reformatory. First but not least. First but not least. All right, or first but not most. You could give us a 5-star rating. Right? If you're on Apple, and so many of our listeners are on Apple, the vast majority, 98% of our listeners are on Apple. Right? And if you have not done so yet, we would implore you to scroll down, tap the 5 stars, and maybe leave us a little review. Just say a little something, to encourage Jack and I, in our travels, right? Maybe just put something funny in there, whatever. But if you do that, it helps get the podcast out to more people, and more people can be encouraged to make the local church central to their lives. You can head to YouTube, even though this episode's not on YouTube, okay? Because our recording software is being stupid, and I have to call tech support because it's not on our end, it's on theirs, just to be clear. But you can head on YouTube, and our episodes are normally there. It's youtube.com/reformatorypod. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for more notifications, as the kids say. And last but definitely not least, you could follow our friend Reformed Reflections and head on over to Patreon. Become a Patreon supporter. Get your exclusive invite to the Podluck, and our pledge to you is that your name shall be hallowed.
Hallowed, sir. Hallowed.
Hallowed through the halls of the podcast. That is our pledge to you. My friends, we thank you all for listening, and we will catch you on the next ep of the Reformatory.